Welcome to another episode of the Enlightened Musician Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Light, and today we are going to talk to the ultimate DIY sync licensing guru. He has had placements on over 2,000 spots, people. He is known for being an amazing producer, aka Soulplusmind, partner in the iconic music agency, and co-founder in one of the greatest companies on the planet, TwoOHsix. Okay, I might be biased on that one, but here is my good friend, Dennis Cornell. Hey, Dennis.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going so good. We were already talking pre the podcast, and I realized I should probably press record because we could talk forever. But I am so excited. So today I'm going to pretend like I know barely nothing about Dennis and his career and what all he's done because I want you guys to kind of get a sneak peek into all of the cool things he's done, but also really take you back to the start of where it all began. Because I think a lot of times people see people where they're at and don't really look about where they came from and know that they can do the same thing for themselves as well. So, with that being started, let's kind of just dive into how you fell into sync licensing because I assume that wasn't plan A.
No, it's definitely not plan A. Actually, I had, you always hear music on TV and you just don't ever realize where it came from. And I had no idea what sync licensing was. I was actually going to school for audio engineering. And they had a conference at my school, and one of the panels was about sync licensing. And I was just like, I don't know what this is. Let me go check it out. So I go check it out, and one of the biggest companies at the time, what was their name? Pump Audio, one of the biggest licensing companies out there, Pump Audio, was on the panel, and they started talking, and I was like, oh, that's how you get music into TV. Okay, this makes sense now. They don't just pull it out of thin air.
If they did.
If they did, they'd get sued.
True story.
So after I heard the panel, I ran home. I did research on them. I found out like what it took to get music to them, and I just kind of on the side started working on some instrumental music to send to them. A year and a half later, I checked my mailbox and I had money in the mail from BMI, and I was just like, holy crap, I can actually make money doing music.
I love it. So it actually took about a year and a half for you to get your first placement. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. So I think their intake process was slow. I think but it took me about a year and a half. So, I was just making music, not knowing what was going to happen with it. And I think every month I probably sent them about 10 songs or 10 cues, instrumental cues or so. And yeah, about a year and a half, I opened up my mail and I opened up this BMI letter, not knowing what it was. And it was a check. So I was just like, okay. And, on this, it was like stuff they use for like the NBA talk shows and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, you're actually using it for stuff I watch. So even better.
That's so cool, though, especially the first thing. And for anybody that's listening, the definition of what sync licensing is, do you want to kind of break down just a really small, like what all that entails? What is sync licensing?
Yeah, so I guess sync licensing, the basic definition of it is just it's the usage of music to moving picture. Oh, you can't see my air quotes.
Guys, he's doing air quotes. I put him on the spot asking him for the definition. I'm like, be a dictionary. Go.
It's basically using music for moving pictures, so film, TV, trailers, videos, all that fun stuff.
And so you got paid to be on like any NBA spot where they're actually talking and you can hear your music in the background. I assume it was instrumental as well, right?
Yeah, it was instrumental. It was like one of those like NBA like highlight shows. It's like, I don't remember what the name of it was. But yeah, I got a whopping $130 on my first check.
Hey, you say that, but a lot of people don't even make that sometimes in certain music avenues. So to make a steady stream of that, and I know even more for a musician is fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So that was the first kind of spot into getting a placement.
Yeah.
So what kind of fed into what we know as now the 2000 that you have today? Because obviously there was a whole entire landslide of things that happened in between then, obviously.
Yeah. So, I saw the money. I saw that it was
And it was
possible,
great.
and it was great. So it just motivated me because I mean, before I was doing sync stuff,
Mhm.
I was on that typical path. I was doing a lot of hip hop. So I was trying to sell beats to artists. I was trying to be that guy that was going to get a placement with a major artist. And as those years went on, I realized that it was just so fickle and it was more about politics and who you knew instead of the music that you made. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about sync too, is that it's not always about who you are. It's about what your music represents and how it can support, the visuals for whatever it's getting used for. So, they don't care if you're some known person. They want to make something that they want to use something that fits the emotion of their scene. But yeah, so back to what you asked. I
No,
could go
oh,
on
this is
forever.
perfect. No, I was telling earlier, me and Dennis could talk for, like, ever, so I'm just, like, listening very like, "Ooh, this is great."
So I started doing more music for Sync. I think I ended up doing like I started ramping up, so I did maybe like 20 cues a month for them. I started looking for um, more companies to work with. I started going to more conferences. From there, I started working with more companies and started building. I met people that shared other companies with me. And then I got to a point, there's always the ups and downs. It got really nice. And then I think, you start to get comfortable and you start to do less, thinking that it'll continue to go, and it goes down, it goes up, and it goes down. But I randomly got a phone call. Oh, this is how this story goes. It's all jumbled in my head. Let me try to piece this together.
Oh, it's all good.
So I had reached out to this company that I had met at a conference, never heard from them, followed up with them a month later, never heard from them. I think I followed up with them maybe one more time, never heard from them. 2 months later, I get this random phone call, and I'm like, who the hell is calling me? It was like the area code of the city that I grew up in. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. That's usually spam. So like I didn't pick it up. They left a message, and they pretty much said, hey, I got your number from the company that never responded to me. They're
What?
like, I got your number from this company. He passed over your information. It looks like you're also from Simi Valley, which is where I grew up. There's like, it looks like you're also from Simi Valley. I am starting this music library. We have a major client with Access Hollywood. I need to have X amount of cues by the end of summer to present to them. So I call them back and I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. I don't know who the hell you are, but okay, let's meet up. Let's talk. Let me know what you need, whatever. So, I crank out a bunch of cues for them. And every month, he's like sending us, usage, cue sheets and usage statements and stuff like that. And I always end up being in like somewhere in the top 5 of all the other composers that he's working with. And so he reaches out to that small group, I think the top 10 composers one day, and is like, hey, they need more music. We need to have it delivered in, I think it was a month. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here's the examples of what we need, go for it. So mind you, I'm at a full-time job this whole time that
Oh
I'm
my
doing
gosh.
all this sync stuff. So every day after work, I would put in 2, 3, 4 hours a day working on sync stuff. And so he sends that message, and in that 1 month, I crank out 100 cues for this company. And I pretty much gave up my life because I was like, okay, they are reaching out directly to me. They have chosen to work with me on these things. Let me show them what I can do. So I pretty much put my whole life on pause. I'm still working, but everything else outside of work, I pretty much give up. And I crank out 100 keys for them. I send it to the library. He's like, what the I'm sorry, you can bleep that out if you want to, but he's just
it's
like,
gonna have a nice little doo-doo.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited. I'm gonna have really cool phrases for everyone's cuss words. So everyone's invited to cuss, but it's gonna have a weird sound underneath it. So you're welcome for whatever just happened there.
Nice. So yeah, he's just like, what in the hell? Like, how did you do this? I was like, you wanted them. Here you go. So he even actually, what he used to do is create albums of however many tracks and send them, regardless of who the composer was, out to the company. Mm-hmm. But because I had sent so many, he created one album specifically for me and sent it to Access Hollywood. And so the music supervisor at Access Hollywood was like, who the hell is this guy? What, like, how the hell did he do this? And so because of that, because I put myself out there, he took notice. And because he took notice, he started using way more cues than he probably would have. So
it's crazy. Like, you can create your own opportunities. And I think that's a good point to, address. You can create your own opportunities if you let yourself do that. So that's awesome.
And I think, a lot of people have this misconception that music libraries have hundreds of thousands of songs, so they're not paying attention. But they are. Like, I've had a few different libraries in the course of me doing this reach out to me directly because they know I can make a specific genre of music very well. And so I get those personal emails all the time, like, hey, we need this. How many can you do in this time? And so don't think that people aren't paying attention, because they are paying attention. I mean, and we had this instance, like you with, should I say it? Crucial? You can bleep that out if you want to.
Yeah.
With Crucial.
We're open with everything.
We'll just talk about it all.
We'll talk about it all.
You and I had this situation with Crucial where, like, they reached out to you because they heard something that they liked, and we had an opportunity, and even, they recognized my name too for, the stuff that
and they recognize I spelled your last name wrong too, so they definitely know who you are.
I called you out.
Well, I'll call myself out. I was in such a panic because it's not just every day that a company calls you and said that the supervisor on the show loved your music so much they specifically want more of your music within a certain time period. So I was in pure panic, like trying to type and write to them. And I'm texting Dennis, like, getting so, but it's exciting. I haven't announced it yet live, and I can't announce the show name yet, but it's in April. So there's going to be a show with a whole bunch of Lauren Light on it. So I'm excited.
Wait, so that's confirmed? All that's confirmed?
But I won't say what the show is. So I can't do that. So,
yeah.
But I can say it. I can say that.
Yeah, you can. You're going to have to tell me later.
Yeah. And maybe, actually, by the time this airs, it's still not going to have aired because April is a ways away. Yeah. But yes, I'm really excited about it. And they wanted a whole bunch of dark, almost swagger, sassy, pop stuff. So, Dennis is so good at that, and you're a killer at hip hop and everything like that. And we can talk more about that later, but I think I completely stole your spot. So we were talking about, you did Access Hollywood, which is crazy cool. But I love the point that you made it known that you were to be known. You know what I mean? So you did 100 cues. Like, sometimes people wonder how they can stand out. And sometimes it's like, well, make sure they can't miss me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I love that about you. And I think that's a good point in case too. And at that time, another thing I like that you'd said as well is you got this opportunity from a company that never wrote you back. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Yeah. They never.
So,
and that's the crazy thing. It's just like, you don't think people are paying attention just because you're getting a response. You're not getting a response doesn't mean people aren't paying attention. A lot of the time,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, a lot of time what?
Oh, I was gonna say, a lot of the times following up makes a huge difference.
And that's one thing with you that we've talked about. I think a lot of people give up on the second email if
Yep.
they don't hear anything back. But in Dennis's case, it's well proven. Sometimes maybe he didn't fit what they needed, but they're like, this is great. This will work for this person, and sent his info over. But doesn't mean that they weren't listening or looking at what he was sending. They
Yep.
just weren't responding.
Yep.
So I think it's a good thing for follow up, polite persistence, but also not being crazy either.
Don't be crazy.
Rule is don't be
Don't be
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, you just have to.
Life lessons, just in anything, just don't do it.
Just stop. No. If you think you're being crazy, stop.
No, I love it. So we got to the point, and that's kind of like more of the first initial, just making your mark. And you were doing a full-time job as well. So after that, did that kind of take over and you slipped into full-time music?
Let's see how many. I was very cautious. Obviously I would have loved to have just made that jump right away, but things
I
were
was the
things
same
were
boat too.
yeah. Things were picking up, but I wanted to make sure that I was consistently making a certain amount of money per year before I took that opportunity. And actually I didn't. I quit before that happened. I quit because I was at a job. Long story short, company leadership change. They started treating everyone like crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no because it was taking up. I was ended up working over 12-hour days, not really getting a chance to work on music like I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And an opportunity presented myself where I could leave that company. And so I said, yes, I'm leaving. I promised myself that I would never let any job ever take over my life like that job did and treat me like crap like that job did. Well, just I would never let anyone treat me like crap like that job did.
Yeah, but sometimes you just don't know what you won't accept until you get put in a
Oh yeah,
situation where you have to be like that. I was in the same boat too, so I feel you on that.
yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being taken advantage of. Everyone says don't get taken advantage of, but you're never going to get taken advantage of until you get taken advantage of. Or like you will
Exactly.
never know what being taken advantage of is until you get taken advantage of.
Mhm.
So there's always learning lessons in that crazy crap if you're willing to look for them or see them. So I ended up getting another job. The job was super cool. Leadership change again. Guess what happened?
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, the person that came in and ended up running the company was a complete ass,
Mhm.
and pretty much treated his employees very not well.
Yeah.
And so I said bye, and they were like, "What?" I said bye. I was like, "I can't."
Mhm.
I was like, "I'm sorry, I can't. I can't work under these conditions." I explained exactly what happened at my last job and how I said that I would never let that happen to me again. And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm doing whatever the hell I want to. I'm
Not
doing
this.
music. Yeah, it's not this. I'm just like I'm doing music." And I was like, "This was never my." And I think that was a thing with both jobs and being so open to leave. I
Mhm.
knew those were never going to be my career. A lot of the people that were at those companies were lifers, and I was never going to be that person. So I stepped up way too many times, and like I can talk about this forever, but part of it too, part of not caring, or part of those jobs not being um, important to me, was
Mhm.
that I stood my ground every single time I felt like I was being disrespected, and
Yeah.
that has taught me to do that in my music career too. And so like there were times, before I get too off topic, there was times where like I would straight up call people out and CC the presidents of the companies so that people would listen, because no one it wasn't getting taken care of without those people on those emails. And the second I put those people on the emails, things changed. So here's
But
another
you
tip.
do another tip, life
Don't
lessons.
Yes, yeah, don't be afraid to go higher than you think you need to.
Yeah, because I think respect should always be in any industry or in anything. And I think that's kind of helped you go where you're going now and if, put you into different music categories as well, because people know that you demand respect, but you also give it too.
Right.
So I don't see anything wrong with that, Dennis. Let's all do that for sure. I mean, we could definitely get in conversations about day jobs, but I do like pointing out that you had one.
Yeah.
But I also think it's good too that it wasn't a life that you were gonna continue on with, because if you would have stayed there and gotten comfortable and it would have been a really good job, you might not be where you are with what you actually wanted to do.
Right.
So in a way, it's kind of, even though it was crappy to go through, it's like it was for the best in the long run,
Yeah.
hopefully. I'm gonna
Yes.
be optimistic about it. That's what I say about mine. So I love it. Okay, so also we haven't really talked about it. You also are a partner in this thing called Iconic Music Agency. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So it is basically, well, Iconic Music Agency is a music agency, but we have a what surprise?
Bless.
But we
That's
yeah,
it.
that's it. There it is. Done. Next question.
I love it.
But we have a few different arms underneath the Iconic Music Agency umbrella. We
Mhm,
have a trailer composition label, if you will, for lack of a better
mhm,
term. We have a production music library, and then we also have like a vocal me song representation library as well.
mhm.
Um, but my main focus within Iconic Music Agency is our music production library.
Sweet. So a lot more of the instrumentals
Yeah,
and
so a lot
everything
more
like that.
instrumental stuff. We
Mhm.
recently signed a administration deal with Five Alarm Music, who will be distributing our whole catalog around the world, representing our
So
catalog
crazy.
to all their clients everywhere.
And
All the
is that an exclusive deal
That
as
is an
well?
exclusive deal.
So I do want to talk about that because a lot of these terms we know, but a lot of other people don't. So within the licensing world, you can get what's called an exclusive or non-exclusive. So with this part of Dennis's world, this is an exclusive where one company represents that catalog and that body of work, and you can't distribute it anywhere else. But Five Alarm and your company, they're going to do just
Yeah,
fine.
oh, I'm gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are scared. A lot of people get scared of exclusivity.
Hmm.
Um, to me, I think because look at I don't hold my music as something precious to me.
Hmm.
I'm able to just give my music freely to whoever. Obviously, I'm not just giving it to everyone. If it makes,
No.
especially with the exclusive stuff, you want
Trusted
to give it to,
sources.
yeah, trusted sources, people that make sense. But I know I'm going to keep making music. It's not like these are the last 10 cues I will ever make. I wish there
Ever
was a
made.
video because then you could see me handing my
I know.
bundle of
There's like a
cues to
little
Lauren.
it's a bundle of like a pigeon, it looks like. It's okay, I'm done. That was me, by the way. You're welcome, audience. Which I kinda completely bypassed over one of your biggest projects, and that's Soulplusmind, which is, like, I guess the foundation of everything, right?
Yeah, Soulful
Or which I
Swine.
would think.
Yeah, Soulful Swine that's just me. That's my music production company. So I mean, there isn't really
Have you
anything to
ever
say.
seen what do you mean there isn't anything to say?
I do
You like
music.
so he's trying to be very, like, humble right now. That's ridiculous. Let's stop. No, I'm just kidding. But no, he's done some amazing stuff. You've probably seen it tagged on a whole bunch of different songs. I've gotten placements. I know you've recently done some collaborations with different hip hop artists as well. That was on. Name a couple that just were recent that you were excited about.
I guess the most recent one that I was excited about, which I didn't actually know until I heard the spot, was
Isn't that
that
funny?
the NBA used a song I did with an artist um, during the NBA Finals, and it was for their NBA Summer League promotions and stuff like that. So the funny thing is, I very rarely watch TV, but I think I was like doing administrative stuff and like doing spreadsheets, and the NBA Finals were on, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna put it on my phone while I do my spreadsheets and just kind of listen to it or kind of look down every once in a while. So it's on, and this commercial comes on, and I'm still doing the spreadsheet, and I'm like, this sounds really familiar. Not really thinking about it, and just like da 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 da, whatever. And then the vocals come on, and I'm like, holy
Isn't that
like,
crazy though that you didn't know until it was physically on?
yeah. So like,
Like,
I
you
for
were never
whatever reason
warned.
they didn't notify me, and whatever. Well, so the funny thing is, like, the company reached out to me like a couple of weeks prior, and was like, hey, can you
Gotcha.
send me the acapella for this? We just want to make sure who the client we're sending this to has every piece possible. And I'm
Gotcha.
like, okay, cool, whatever. Thinking that, like, if I got a placement, they would have notified me.
That's so
And
funny.
so I never got a notification. I hear my song, and I'm like, oh, that's amazing.
That's cool.
And apparently they ran that spot for, I think, 3 months.
That's insane.
So next royalty statement, I get to see what those look like.
That's so cool. Was that a
Um,
newer song or was that an older
no,
song
so
that you
that's the
had?
thing too. That song was, I want to say, like, at least 4 years old, 3 or
And I
4
guess
years
that's
old.
the cool thing with sync too, is that songs that you create 8 years ago versus yesterday have the same amount of potential to keep being used over and over and over again. So that's really cool to point out as well.
Yeah, I like to tell people that the one of the biggest benefits of sync is that your music never dies.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like, you can, and when those things get used on prominent features like that, people Shazam them. So those
Mhm.
up your streams, those up your downloads, those up everything. So it's a full circle, when you get those kind of placements.
So crazy. That's so cool. All right, we're going to talk about the thing I want to talk about second
Sloths.
to most, sloths. So tell me, when did your obsession start with sloths? Oh
So
my god.
I like to joke and say that, like, I am the super hipster when it comes to this, because I thought sloths were cool before I thought sloths were cool.
So you were the
I
original.
was the
That's what you're
original
saying.
sloth lover.
Okay,
Um,
so no one else can steal this
yeah,
title from
right.
you.
I'm actually gonna wear a crown right now that
A
says
sloth
sloth
crown.
crown.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
um, but yeah, I
And
don't know. I always thought they were just weird.
no, I know in your studio you have not a real one, but, if you
One
had a
day,
real one,
one day, one day, I will own a sloth in my house.
at least you could not be concerned that it would run away,
That's true. That's true. It's got. It's not going
That's
anywhere
hilarious.
fast.
Oh my gosh, I love it, which you're actually gonna be, moving soon into, like, a nicer, cooler
Yeah,
studio,
I hope so.
AKA home too, so that's
Yep.
exciting.
Yeah.
Congrats. I'll be
We can
visiting more.
congrats when I'm actually moved in. Yeah.
Oh my
There'll be plenty
gosh.
of space for you.
Yay! So you guys, I'm always going to LA, so I'm excited to finally have like a mini home there. I'm gonna call it that. You're like, you might move.
Oh, okay.
Gonna be
You're
my
gonna
new
start
mini
putting
home.
decorations up in the house.
Caitlin, his wife, who I adore, is gonna be like, I'm sorry, Lauren, you didn't get the idea. You can like visit. I'm completely kidding. So that being said, the reason why I come to LA a good amount is because of the last thing I talked about, the greatest company on the planet, which is 2OHsix, which is our company, and I'm stellar excited about. We've been working on this for 6 months. Has it been
Yeah.
a year?
Well, oh no, I guess we've known each other. We've all known each other about a year. And
Known
so,
each other for
yeah,
about a
it's
year.
probably about 6 months or so.
Okay, so yeah, we've had our company for about 6 months, and pretty much we're a company based of artists and producers that has an expertise, and I'm going to say that expertise and sync licensing, especially that involves vocal work. But I think one of our things is that we do custom work as well. So I think that's cool. So what's your thoughts on like all it's doing 206? Are you excited about where it's going and what's happening? Or
I mean, it's crazy. There's a lot that's happened in the last 6 months. I mean, we've
Mhm.
just from the conferences that we've been to, and how impressed and amazed and how many doors have opened from those things because we have amazing music. I'm just going to say it. We
Yeah.
have amazing music.
I mean, not to toot our own horns, but
Computer on
the
horns.
songs are legit. Let's toot those horns. Yes, please. I hope I have like some kind of. I'm gonna find out how to do sound effects, and I feel like the first couple episodes are gonna be like an overwhelm of sound effects. But you guys, it's a learning
Yeah,
process. Let me
you
let
gotta
me live my
overdo
life.
it and scale back and find the happy medium. It's fine.
Exactly. But no, I'm excited, and we did our first workshop in August.
August? Yes, August.
Yeah, and actually, as this is airing, literally this day that we're recording this, we actually promote our second workshop, which is going to be in a mansion. And you guys, I'm excited about that. That's going to be a really cool 2-day event. But it's just been cool. The doors have been opened. And like we were talking about earlier, people ask for our music custom, some things coming out in April. I just see this thing propelling even bigger in the future. So I'm excited about where that's going as well. So, that being said, I'm going to circle back around to what this podcast is all about. And when I started this, one of my main focuses was to give tips and tricks, but also inspiration that no matter what you want to do in the industry, you can do it. Just you got to put your own, words behind your actions and do things. So, if you were talking to someone that was starting on day one of trying to get into sync licensing and just anything in that world, would there be any tips or advice that you would give them?
Um, Man, so for me, they're
Tell
like,
us.
tell us what you really feel.
I mean, and the truth, like, don't be like, it's the best thing ever. It's going to happen in, a couple days. No problem. Like, no,
Yeah,
but like the real.
no, yeah, for real, like, to me, there isn't. Everyone's looking for this like silver bullet, this magic whatever thing that's going to change their life in an instant, and that doesn't exist. Or at
Mhm.
least for me. Maybe I haven't found it yet, but
I haven't found it yet either.
I,
It's 8 years in. So you find it, you let me know.
but I think the one thing that separates me from a lot of people that did music when I like that started doing music when I started doing music, or people that have met along the way, is that I honestly don't give a like
Hmm.
no one's lack of response is going to stop me. No one's terrible response about my music is going to stop me. There's nothing. I think the one thing I've had this discussion with, I don't know, maybe you or some other people, and I definitely know I've had this conversation with my wife, Caitlin, is that I was taught that no isn't the final answer. No is never the final
Oh,
answer.
no never means
Yeah,
no in the industry. Like,
yeah. There's
that's really
no is
cool.
never no is never an answer. Okay, no is never an answer you should settle with when it comes
Mhm.
to something your dreams and something you're passionate about. And I think that's what sets me apart from a lot of people that I've grown up doing music with, or people that I do music with now, is that a lot of people will take that as a setback and then just stop and get discouraged. Where me, I'm like, huh? What did you say? Okay,
I'm sorry.
next. Yeah. There's always like, you just have to find where you fit. And a lot of
Mhm.
people stop right before they find where they fit.
And I definitely can agree with you on that. A good story with me, especially growing up, I knew should be a singer. Like, no matter what I did in the music industry, like, I had to sing. Like, no if, and, or but. And I used to audition for a ton of stuff, and I was told no all the time. I didn't even get into vocal lessons, like, because they didn't want me. Like, you know what I mean? And right now, I get hired all the time to do vocal work for people. I have a career doing music full time, and I was constantly told no. So I think that's a perfect example, just because if it's something that you're passionate about and you are certain that this is what you're like called to do, like your life has been, geared towards this, like, no, it's just an obstacle you can walk around.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It literally
So
is something you can walk around. And no,
so
and
I
a lot
found
of
that.
people, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually think it's better too. I was really thankful that I was, turned down so much, because it gave me my endurance and, like, my fire that I have now. Because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, cool. So you're just not the person to talk about." And I go to someone else, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just good. It gives you that, like keep going attitude, because I think some people that got it handed to them, it's very hard to hear no.
Right.
So
Or
I'm glad I
anything
heard it.
negative. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love that. So another thing I wanted to ask you, because I completely forgot about it, but this is one thing I think a lot of musicians in general, especially producers, have a hard time with, and that's organizing how much they have on their plate. You talked about doing 100 in 1 month, and I know right now your plate, you did like 20 plus songs last month, and you're getting to live a good life and getting to go on vacation and do some cool stuff. How do you balance keeping organized, still turning everything over ultra fast because you do, like, and you still have a like great life and still have things on deadlines and times? Like, how do you keep it all together? Is there any like tips or tricks for that?
Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets forever.
Yep. I live in a world of spreadsheets. And like I think I have just I think from the beginning, I think from working in companies and jobs where I had to be super organized because it was fast paced, I learned to organize my inbox properly. I learned to organize like my folder structure properly so that I know where things are and where I need to go. You have to be, I mean, if it at the beginning, if you need to have a checklist that you run through
Mhm.
for every single song, I would do that until you get into the habit of saying, okay, I need lyrics, I need this, I need to do that, and throwing them in their appropriate folders and putting them in their appropriate places online and all that stuff. And until that comes second nature, I think that's just like, there's nothing wrong with having a checklist. There's nothing wrong with needing some help to help you remember how to stay organized. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
come second nature to anyone. It's just something you have to teach yourself. I mean, you're the queen of Airtable and organization, so you should be talking about this.
I know, I definitely could. Actually, that speaking on your case, I have a template within Asana, which is a checklist to do sheet that I have synced to a platform called Airtable. But in Asana, I have certain templates, like you were saying, of, for instance, if I get a brand new song and I need to know that I need to get the lyrics, I need to do the metadata, I need to, and like the list of stuff, register it with my PRO, blah, 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 blah. I have it and I can click the template and then I'll type the song name at the top and I'll check off each one. But it's the same template and I use it each time. So that's been really helpful to me. I use it every time, but I mean, I also use a checklist every time I pack too because I'm crazy.
Well, I do too. I'm
So
not. So we always pack last minute. So we need a
me
checklist
too.
because we're freaking crazy, and we're like, oh, we need to leave in like an hour. Oh, we need to pack for 2 weeks. Okay.
I do. I love having checklists. So I mean,
Yeah,
you're just like, don't feel bad about it. I'm like, I love
yeah.
checklist.
And that's actually a
But
good. Like we use Asana with Iconic a lot. I don't, for some stupid reason, I don't use it for like my own personal stuff. And I don't know why, but I need to because that's a smart idea.
yeah.
A lot of the times I forget to like, oh, this needs to be registered or this needs to be that. So I think having that in Asana, since I'm so used to it, would make
Yeah. Well, and
it
especially if
easier.
you do the templates, which I
Oh
love,
yeah,
is because you can just reuse them over.
yep.
So you would, and then just type the new song title up at the above. And I know you use spreadsheets. Do you use like Excel or Drive or Google
Uh,
Docs?
Google Docs, Excel. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess those two are kind of
Well, and
interchangeable.
you can
But
always sync Asana and Google Docs as well, because that's the cool thing about a lot of these. You can sync them with like the documents that
right,
you already use, which is really cool. But I definitely, I mean,
yeah. Airtable. You're the one that
Airtable.
introduced me to Airtable.
Oh my gosh, they had a thing the other day, where they were looking for sponsors, or not sponsors, but people to sponsor, and I was like, I mean, I've been,
Right here.
not getting paid and shouting your praises. So, right here, sign me up. But, yeah, I just think in general, even if it's not Airtable for anybody, if you can find a system that works for you, because I think a lot of people are either visual or they're more like physically doing something, even if it's like a notebook and paper, if you can kind of like have a printout and you just checklist each one each time you do it, find a system that works for you. Don't ever get into a overwhelmed territory, because I think that's where a lot of people get to, especially with producers and songwriters. They hit the overwhelm and then they physically can't do anything because their brain is so just overwhelmed and mush.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
agreed.
think
Yeah.
you,
There's a lot out there that does the same thing but differently. So find something that makes sense to you. I think
Mhm.
I was trying a lot of things similar to Asana, and Asana just made the most sense to me, and it's the most
I
visually
like
appealing and
Asana too.
streamlined to me.
I like it because I like that you can just type in and just push enter and you can do a whole entire
Yeah,
checklist. And I really like it syncs to Airtable. So when. So that being said, I have one final question for you. One thing I know we've talked about, even though I'm supposed to pretend like I have no idea about your life right now, is that you said in life you kind of spoke things into fruition before they happened. Is
yeah,
that
yes.
correct? So right now, what do you want to speak into your life coming up? Is there any like goal or thing that you want for Dennis Cornell coming up?
A house that I'm trying to buy.
Okay, because we're gonna get to play this back and see that.
If it, yeah, what,
So, story told everything, and there was a really cool article they wrote in what was it, the LA Voyage?
Voyage LA.
And I would definitely check that out. It's just really cool to read about some of the stuff that happened with Dennis and saying things that he had spoke into like the universe and that actually came to happen. So I just think that's cool. Sometimes your words are kind of like seeds and what you seed grows.
Yeah,
So I think that's a really cool thing. So
yeah.
anyway, a house. I want that for y'all too.
I want a house. The biggest thing for me is I would love a big ass ad placement. I think that's my
Oh.
next goal. I mean, honestly, God, that sounds really cocky. I've done it all.
No, I think you should always be able to have something new to
Yeah,
reach for, and if you've done it all, that means you've done good at reaching for the other things as
right.
well, so I don't think that's bad.
Yeah,
So ad
so
placement.
I want a big fat ad placement with, maybe let's say Coke or Target or
Oh,
Walmart
we
or
really putting it out there, I like it. He's like, "I mean, whatever, like, Target, Coke, that's what I want."
I'll take Pepsi. I think they use more artists than Coke does. So maybe we'll switch that to Pepsi. Whatever.
Hey,
Let's have them both. Let's have them both.
well, Dennis, I see it happening, and I
Wait.
see
One
that
more. I'm
placement.
sorry. Car
Oh, what?
commercials. Car commercials.
Ooh, car
Yeah,
commercial.
car ads. Let's do that.
So I'm gonna put this in fruition too. I hope that I'm on one of those placements with you.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put that out there too. I'm buying for Target. I think that will be great. And then they can give me a gift card to their stores as well, since they know me there. I'm just kidding. But I love it. So I just want to say thanks for coming on, Dennis. And we've talked about it. I'm definitely going to bring him on for some co host because, especially within this music business, music industry, I'd love to have his brain on a couple of these interviews. So you'll definitely hear from him again, just not as the person being interviewed, but as the interviewee. So he'll be back. But thanks so much for just being on today and giving some tips and tricks and giving a whole bunch of your whole insight to us all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you're going to put contact information in this somewhere.
Mhm.
But if anyone, honestly, no one actually, the funny thing is, no one ever actually takes me up on this. Um, if anyone ever has any questions or needs some tips, that does not mean tell me who your
Invade.
sources are or invade. But if you do have questions, I am totally open to people reaching out to me. I'm totally open with sharing information. I like to be as transparent as possible with things. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you who my direct contacts are because they're not going to want to talk to you anyway. They don't want to talk to me.
If you're just needing like a step 1, step 2,
Yeah,
step 3, like where am I at and where should I go? I mean, you guys, no one in the industry that is in the industry is gonna do that. So definitely take him up on that. Do not harass him. I'll
or
harass
Lauren's
you.
coming for you.
Coming for you. But seriously, he's a great source of knowledge and, someone you should definitely listen to because he's done it. And I know a lot of people are very pessimistic about this industry and not getting into, especially the sync market. But proof shows he's doing just fine with 2,000 placements and more on his belt. So thanks so much for that. That's really kind.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for
So cool.
having me.
Thanks for coming on. So I am going to write a little bit about Dennis underneath, and I'll put that contact info for you to invade his inbox. I'm just kidding. For you guys to get in touch with him, and we'll see him again soon. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Enlightened Musician podcast. Make sure to visit our website, theenlightenedmusician.com, where you can subscribe to the show on your platform of choice so you'll never miss an episode. Until next time, this is Lauren Light.